Michael Franzese, former mobster turned motivational speaker and author, opens the discussion by drawing parallels between his own experiences with government prosecution and the Trump family's ordeal. He acknowledges Eric Trump as a voice of first-hand insight into what the family endured, highlighting Eric's recently published book, Under Siege, which chronicles the Trump family's fight against what Eric describes as a politicized and weaponized government system set on destroying them. Franzese emphasizes Eric's innocence in contrast to his own criminal past and acknowledges the extraordinary nature of the Trump family's treatment. Eric's role managing the Trump organization during Donald Trump's presidency situates him uniquely to speak on both personal and professional fronts about the consistent and aggressive government attacks. Eric Trump details the relentless onslaught that began the moment Donald Trump announced his 2016 presidential bid, escalating into a full-blown siege once he assumed office and beyond. From baseless investigations and corrupt prosecutorial attempts to blackmailing employees to turn against the family, Eric paints a picture of a deep-rooted conspiracy using every federal agency, including the FBI, Department of Justice, IRS, and courts, as weapons against them. He rejects claims of illicit behavior and points out how the media and government created false narratives, such as unfounded allegations about secret servers and connections to foreign governments, all to tarnish the family's reputation. Eric stresses the unprecedented nature of these attacks on a legitimate family and business enterprise, contrasting it with his own experience where criminal activity was justified to a degree by authorities. Throughout the conversation, the unyielding loyalty of the Trump family is highlighted. Eric speaks fondly of the strength of his parents and siblings, placing particular emphasis on the influence of his mother, Ivana Trump, as a tough and loving pillar of the family. He underscores the unbreakable bond they share, noting that despite constant pressure, none of them broke under the strain of legal and political attacks, a fate that befell many political figures' children who did not have the same backbone or support system. Eric reveals the heavy personal toll, sharing that their father endured assassination attempts, public humiliation, and financial drain, with $400 million spent on legal defense alone, yet remained steadfast in his mission to serve the country. The family's focus on faith in God and unity are cited as key to overcoming these immense challenges. A significant portion of the discussion revolves around the political environment that enabled such systemic attacks. Eric argues that the left weaponized government institutions and media to maintain power, painting Donald Trump and his family as villains undeservedly. He criticizes mainstream media for losing credibility by continuously lying, manipulating narratives, and suppressing conservative voices. Michael Franzese adds his voice, pointing to hypocrisy and double standards when it comes to investigations of the Biden family and other political adversaries, alleging that the media and establishment protect certain figures despite overwhelming evidence of wrongdoing. Eric fosters this narrative by questioning the legitimacy of Hunter Biden's business dealings and contrasting the transparency and lawfulness of his own family's business with those shadowy practices. Eric candidly shares the impetus behind his book Under Siege, expressing frustration with numerous phony narratives and revisionist histories written by others who had little insider knowledge. He felt compelled to tell the full story of what happened to his family in a comprehensive and honest way, a story of governmental overreach, corruption, and a family's fight to survive. The book is positioned as both an exposé and an inspirational testament to hard work, faith, and resilience in the face of overwhelming adversity. The reception of the book, reaching #1 on Amazon across all categories, is discussed as a sign of the widespread frustration among Americans who feel similarly besieged by government overreach and cultural attacks. The conversation turns to reflect on Donald Trump's legacy and impact, particularly his efforts to save this country, promote peace, restore the economy, and revive religious and family values. Eric recounts the harrowing events, such as the assassination attempt on his father's life, the Middle East peace deals, and the steady restoration of America's global standing during Trump's administration. Michael Franzese expresses his personal belief that God played a role in Donald Trump's political rise, framing it as a spiritual battle for America's survival. The potential consequences of not having Trump in power, in their view, would have been catastrophic. They also criticize current Democratic leadership, particularly Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, for perceived incompetence and corruption, contrasting this unfavorably with Trump's work ethic, toughness, and dedication. Eric Trump offers a sobering take on the political arena, describing it as a brutal, thankless industry that damages families and wears down even the strongest individuals. While he does not currently plan to enter politics himself, he leaves open the possibility if circumstances force him to, noting this is in line with how his father viewed any potential political foray, something to undertake only out of necessity. They discuss the importance of keeping family members out of the political spotlight due to the dangers and the relentless attacks they can face, a rule the Trump family admittedly broke but survived together. Both Franzese and Trump stress the urgent need for accountability for those who weaponized government systems, naming officials like James Comey and Letitia James, who they claim abused power without consequences. They call for transparency regarding incidents like the attack on the Capitol on January 6th and express frustration at the lack of justice or answers. Eric speaks fervently about the upcoming political future, believing the Trump movement has recast the Republican Party and energized conservative voices. He projects optimism about the next 3 years of his father's influence, citing the presence of an empowered administration, control of Congress, and a Supreme Court aligned with their values.